Welcome to Follow the Action. I am your host, or one of your hosts, John Layfield, and what you're listening to are guys who don't play experts on television. We have the real experts. We have the guys who are what they call the sharp money. When they talk about the sharp money, that's our guys, the pillars of the industry of the last several decades. We've been downloading over 2,000 cities, over 60 countries, and all 50 United States on our podcast. We're also syndicated nationally on radio. Follow the Action also on our YouTube. Follow the Action, all types of exclusive content, all types of exclusive tips. So let's get right to the crew themselves. He is as iconic as the Rocky statue in Philadelphia. He is the host of the best golf podcast in the world, Swing It and Ding It, Mr. Harry Mays. He's been called the best sports bettor alive. He is the Philly Godfather, and he is our man, the legend, the myth. He's as mythical as a Loch Ness monster, except he's all real. He is our Philly Rooster. They've been called the future of sports betting. Matt representing the college kids and the 8-ball, and there it is. There's Philly Rooster's bottle of wine, and in the dark cubicle right there, somewhere, a bat is lurking. That's right. Philly Godfather, you ready to go, my man?
Ready to fire, baby. Got my hat on. Let's do some damage.
You guys did a great job with the UFC. I couldn't join you guys. You had the cowboy hat on, killed the UFC, did a ton of views, you and Batman. So let's get right to Batman. He has a great ability to break down injuries. He did a wonderful job for us in breaking down Tiger Woods and the prognosis of Tiger Woods coming back. Batman, this is very near and dear to my heart. I'm down here in what we call the great state. People in Philadelphia probably call it something else, which you shouldn't say anywhere in public. We call it the great state, the state of Texas, and that is Dak Prescott just signed for a boatload and a big boat load of money. The injury he has, though, what is the prognosis for Dak Prescott coming back 100%? It's whatever Dallas Cowboy fan wants to know.
Commissioner Layfield, it's good to be with you today. I don't do too many interviews, and I usually don't have the lights on. But for this show, I've turned the lights on. Really appreciate you having me back on. Dak Prescott, I don't think that any quarterback may mean more to a team coming up in the next 5 to 10 years here if he is healthy. Last year in weeks 1 through 4, he led the entire NFL in passing. He had 1,690 yards in 4 weeks going into week 5. It was the most in NFL history, and he was on par to throw for the most yards in the history of the NFL. I don't know how you quantify that. The injury that he suffered in the 5th week there was just, we all saw it on television. We're all praying for Dak to get better. He's a fan favorite. He's a great player. He's a great human being. He's a great leader. He's been a really big leader on mental health since he's been away, which we all really, kind of strive to support him and stuff like that. And no one's rooting harder probably than yourself for Dak to, get back to where he is for sure. He had a type of ankle fracture where he had an ankle fracture and a dislocation. His foot was planted in the turf. His ankle externally rotated like this, and then it went inside like this. And then you saw this ankle bone come through this direction. It's kind of like a pronation, external rotation style ankle fracture, in which both bones usually break on the inside and outside. And in his case, the ankle joint did pop through and became an open or a compound fracture. They took him in right away, stabilized him, cleaned him up. They fixed him. They kind of plated him and screwed him a little bit. This is a lower ankle down here style injury. This is not the same as what Tiger Woods has had. This is a completely different recovery, a completely different outlook. There's been several athletes in major pro sports that have had this style of injury. There's a pro soccer player, Gordon Hayward, had this style of injury for the Boston Celtics, a very similar injury to it. The type of recovery is usually about a 6.5 to 7 month recovery. So if he had it, kind of like mid-October, you're kind of looking somewhere around May for him to start really trying to do something with some, light movements with the football and, just kind of run some scout teams, but real slow, progression. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how well he bounces back. One of the things that happened to him was he had a second clean out. So he's had 2 surgeries. And the second surgery was a clean out with an ankle ligament repair. So even though after they had fixed his surgically repaired bones, they noticed that he still had some instability in the ankle. And the reason why I showed that to you was because when you have this style of injury, when the ankle goes this way and then it rotates in, which we all saw his foot, the main ligament here on the inside is called the deltoid ligament. And that's what his second surgery was in December. That's really not near as big a deal because usually pro athletes bounce back really well from deltoid ligament, style injuries, but it's on top of the previous injury, that he had had.
Not to cut you off, for a second, but the second surgery, was that something that they typically already plan and they know it's probably going to happen, or was that a surprise?
I would say the description in this case may be a teensy bit of a surprise, just because, they can repair the ligament sometimes at the first, if it's open, maybe they felt the wound was open and they just wanted that to heal and then go back in a clean environment and do it. So I don't know that it's a super surprise, but I think that, it kind of caught people off guard that he had a secondary procedure to clean up some of the maybe little bone fragments or something that had formed, plus the ligament repair, on top of that. That'll extend his recovery a little bit. I don't know that it'll prevent him from playing this year. I would say that the chance of him starting in September is probably about 80-20, I would say. But I think that they're going to have to really game plan around Dak Prescott for sure. He's going to be more in the pocket, little less mobile, little less running, and that's part of what makes Dak great. And I'm sure that, the Philly Godfather can talk about how his mobility, it really allows them to play great football and all the passing yards that he had. But I'll tell you, do I think he's going to play this year? I do. In a kind of a breaking announcement later today, 3 of the main offensive linemen for the Dallas Cowboys restructured their deals today, and they shored up $17 million in cap space. So to me, that means that they're going to go get either a standout left guard or they're going to get a standout left tackle and move someone else in the offensive line to protect Dak, because I believe they can see that he may not need be as mobile as he has been, so that they can do something to protect him, to give him, a possibility for success this year.
Philly Godfather, does this change your outlook on the Dallas Cowboys as far as next year, this injury coming off of it and hearing what Batman is saying?
Yeah, it makes you pump your brakes as a professional sports bettor. You really don't know what to expect. You don't know how quick he's going to heal. You don't know how quick he's going to get back to game speed in the NFL. You played football. You know how it's hard to adjust if you haven't played for a while, especially if you're coming off an injury. So, yeah, anytime an injury like this happens to such a major component on that offense, I mean, he was, like Batman said, he was playing lights out last year, and he's so crucial to that Cowboys, offense. You just pump your brakes a little bit, and it's more of a watch and, take your time type of outlook for this Cowboys team.
Philly Rooster, I know you're a huge Dallas Cowboy fan, so what is your prognosis? I had to get ahead of you because I had no idea what you were going to say. I just know it's going to be bad for me and my Cowboys. So go ahead.
Just let's get Dak a skirt and call him a cowgirl. He twisted his ankle, and the guy acts like it's the end of the world. Come on. No.
He didn't twist his ankle.
It's a compound fracture.
A bone came out of his leg.
I actually lean Dallas right now. I think they have a good chance of winning this division because the one thing you need is stability at quarterback. And I think he's going to recover from this injury. And now that his mind is put to rest and he's clear-minded and he knows he's going to be there the rest of his career, I think it was a great move for Dallas. I think the Eagles should have done something similar with Wentz and just steadied the waters, put everything else to bed, and move forward. And they're the franchises that win long term.
You don't think, Brewster, you don't think it hurts this Cowboys team spending all that money on the quarterback? I mean, we've heard stories of teams in the past when they went out there and they spent all that money on the quarterback, and it really affected, the offensive line, defensive line, other, you couldn't go out and get the players you wanted. Do you think they're still going to hold true for this Cowboys team?
I think it is because, first of all, it helps them this year. It's a weird kind. He gets $66 million this year, but most of it's in a signing bonus, so it helps the cap this year. There's very little flexibility in year 2, but when you get to year 3, if he feels financially comfortable, he can probably restructure those last 2 years, kind of like a Brady discount. I don't think that's going to kill them. And the cap is rough this year, but it's going to go up again the following season. So
Well, yeah, they've got an out in this contract after 4 years because, I mean, he's going to want to get out of it because he's going to be a free agent again for his final time in his early 30s so he can get another big payday. And I agree with Rooster. He's going to recover from this injury. I mean, I had the same exact injury minus the compounding of the fracture, right? I had the same fractures, the same ligament tears, the dislocation, the whole deal. And he was half my age when I had it. So with all the medical experts and attention that these guys get on a daily basis, I think he's going to be fine.
Batman, when you say that he doesn't not gonna be able to move like he did, is that a one season recovery? And say in season 2, when he's back, he's going to be able to move like he did, or is that going to be a career from now on? He's going to have to be careful about how he runs.
Well, I think a big part of injuries like this is really trying to understand how the mental portion of these injuries work. When I see guys rupture their ACLs who are quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Carson Palmer, and you watch them come back the first year, there's a hesitancy upon motion, right? I think that as it goes on and it gets, more used to playing and gets a little bit better, I think that he'll be able to get back pretty close to where he is now. I think it'll take him about 1.5 years and probably this first season to get comfortable playing again, to trust it when he's in the open field with these big, fast guys chasing him. I think after he gets that and has a lot of movement and playing and continues the rehab for 1 year, I think that second year you look for him to be back to his normal self. I think that's a great bet there.
Sometimes I've had a lot of knee injuries. It's just a matter of being able to plant on that one time and then not giving out and realize that, I'm okay. Because sometimes you're better than you are, but you got to get that over that mental block that you have. Matt and 8 Ball, you guys got anything to say about the NFC East that was the NFC least last year?
Yeah, we actually took a future on Washington Redskins 70-1. I mean, this team's dangerous. If you look at all the teams that Tampa Bay played in the playoffs, they actually played them as one of the toughest teams. You go through Green Bay, New Orleans, the Chiefs. They blew at the Chiefs. They won by, I think, 2 scores against the Saints. The Green Bay game was a pretty close game, but when you go to the Redskins game, they ended up losing by 1 score, 1 possession, and they had Tyler Heineke at quarterback. If they can land a quarterback in this season, off season, then they're going to be dangerous. And Tyler Heineke, who knows how good he is? He could be dangerous. So 70-1 is it's very good odds for this team with a dangerous. They have a solid run game, Gibson. They have McLaurin, wide receiver, and they have a dangerous defense. 70-1 is a good price.
Some great teams in the DC area. You got the Washington football team, Gonzaga basketball team.
Right,
you got a lot of great teams right
Still
right
undefeated,
here,
John.
right, right here in the capital of the country.
They didn't cover the other night, though.
Up there. 8 Ball, you got anything on the NFC East and Dak Prescott?
I agree with Rooster. I think Dallas is a team to beat right now. I think they're the best quarterback in the division until Washington makes a move for maybe Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson or someone else.
Batman, I guess the biggest question that I have is Halle Berry playing Catwoman. Any insight into Halle Berry or anything at all, or pictures or anything that you could help us with?
Well, John, the first thing I have to do is do this. Okay, we have to turn the lights out.
I'd keep them on for her. Are you kidding me?
Well, it has to.
Harry with the line of the year.
I'm a visual guy, Batman. Man, I need to see stuff here.
Only in my bad dreams, Commissioner Layfield.
Harry, do you want us to log off?
Yeah, I'll be logging off immediately after my golf segment.
Don't pull a tubing. No tubing on you.
Oh boy.
Harry, G may turn the lights off, but Batman would keep them on.
I think the last thing to say about the Cowboys this year, John, is a really interesting point, is that Zeke Elliott is going to have to return to his normal form. Okay. And I think that you're going to see, and this could be really interesting, the coach down there has a tendency to have a real conservative game plan. And if they can get another offensive lineman that's big and strong, and they can start dominating the run and take the ball a little bit out of Zeke's hand or put it in Zeke's hands so Dak doesn't have to do as much, I think that could be a recipe for success too as well. Because when you get that balance back and don't rely always on, him throwing the football, this in the long run could actually become something really special for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, Batman, let's go to something that is becoming something special, and it's Bilal Muhammad in the UFC. The young guy he looks like the guy going forward, because you kind of thought that about Adesanya last week, and he gets realizes stepping up a little bit sometimes hurts a guy. Talking about the UFC this week.
Yeah, the main event is Bilal Muhammad, and he's fighting a guy named Leon Rocky Edwards. And the fan favorite here for sure is Bilal Muhammad. He's coming off that win of Diego Lima. I think he fights out of Rufus Sport. He's a really, really tough guy. He's been in a couple wars. He's taken some really big shots. He's been very difficult to put away. But he's fighting a guy that a lot of people believe could be the title holder in this division. And a lot of the fan base who is not diehard probably don't really recognize Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards fights, from overseas, comes over. He is bigger, stronger, faster. And in the last fight, Bilal Muhammad got his legs chewed up with calf kicks by his opponent, Diego Lima. And it's only been, a couple of weeks since that happened. And, the couple of things that stand out to me are, number one, it's really difficult to recover from those calf kicks in this short period of time. Those legs are going to be compromised. Leon Edwards is going to know it. He's going to target those. It's hard to train. It's hard to get your cardio up for this. It's hard to have weight loss when your legs hurt. You can't get in the cardio shape you want. I think Leon Edwards is better in the stand-up, the clinch, and the ground game. I think his wrestling has really come a long way. He had a fight a couple years ago against Gunnar Nelson where he showed his real strength in stopping the takedown, and people didn't realize how good of a wrestler that he really was. And I think that Leon Edwards is the right side in this fight. I really like this, and a lot of people are believing that this is a decision fight. I like Leon Edwards inside the distance. It's a prop at plus 250. I think in the later rounds that Bilal Muhammad's going to wear down, and I think Leon Edwards has got a great chance to finish him. That is definitely against the norm. Most people are picking a decision here. I really like it inside the distance. I think it's got a fantastic chance to cash this week for Leon Rocky Edwards.
Wow, big call. You like anything on the undercard?
Not really. I don't know if Manil Kopp is on the undercard or if he's the first fight in the main card. I don't have my.
Well, I'm sorry. When I say undercard, I mean underneath the main event. Vernacular, we're a little different on.
Yeah, the fight just underneath it, I believe, is Misha Serkinov. Misha Serkinov is fighting Ryan Spann. And I think there's a huge grappling disadvantage here. And usually these fights in the first round, with how Misha's been fighting, are more grappling based and grappling dependent. And I really like Misha Serkinov to win this fight against Ryan Spann. I love it inside the distance. It's only about plus $1.20, but the odds are really high to finish under 1.5 rounds. And I kind of like a little first round sub for Misha Serkinov. It's like plus $450 in the prop line. I think it's a great shot. I think Misha dominates him up against the fence. I think he gets him on the ground, and I think he submits him early in this fight.
Before we go to Mr. Harry Mays and the greatest par 3 in golf, anything else you like, Batman, coming up on fight night this Saturday night?
Those are the two that stick out to me, and always we want to say, we always watch the weigh-ins. We want to make sure these guys make weight. Leon Edwards hasn't fought in 2 years in UFC. I did watch an interview with him today. Specifically, it was a 30-minute interview, I think, on MMA News. And he talked about how great his training camp was. He's had multiple training camps for 2 years, couple fights canceled because of COVID, couple fighters backed out. There's 3 or 4 fighters that won't fight him. He's been begging Colby Covington to fight him. Colby's refused. So he's had these beginnings of training camp, stop. But this time he had a full training camp of almost 10 weeks. It was no COVID interruption over where he's living. He said he feels great. And he said he really wants a title shot. And he knows that against this competition in Bilal Muhammad, that this is his time to shine. And if he wants a title shot, he's got to show it. And I agree with him. And I think he's better in all areas.
But Batman, thank you very much. And I'll be looking for all those videos and pics of Miss Halle Berry at any time. Just send them however you can send them by snail mail if you want to. Harry Mays, listen, I want to ask you something, because this last week, people were tuning in just to see if Bryson DeChambeau is going to drive the green. It's crazy what a draw he's becoming. It's almost like Mark McGuire in batting practice. He's put 40,000 people in the seats just for batting practice. I mean, this guy goes off into COVID looking like some freshman at Gonzaga, comes back looking like Thanos. And all of a sudden now he's just crushing the golf ball. and he can putt. It's like Happy Gilmore found ability to putt. How is Bryson DeChambeau head and shoulders when he's on best golfer in the world?
No, I would say no. I mean, he's the best, he's the longest driver, pretty much on the PGA Tour. And like you said, he can putt, but he's an attraction. It's like the circus coming to town. And it's not only that the fans are into it and the golfing media, the other players are caught up in this whole thing too. I mean, they watch him like the patrons watch him. I saw Jordan Spieth on Saturday or Sunday. I think it was Sunday. He was playing in a group ahead of DeChambeau's group, and he's on the next hole, but looking back on, I think he was on 17. He's looking back on 6 with his caddy, just watching like a fan was. I mean, the rest of the guys and his colleagues are all caught up in this too. He's changing the game. He's changing how guys, look at their fitness. They're all caught up in ball speed and club head speed, and he's taking it to another level. But he's not the best golfer on the tour or in the world, even when he is on, in my view. I still will put that to Dustin Johnson, guys like Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson.
And would you put him in the top 5, top 10? Where would you put him?
He's definitely in the top 10. I mean, he's got 8 wins now, including a major. He proved that he could win a major, and he proved that he could just overpower a U.S. Open golf course at Winged Foot, which a lot of people, including me, had doubts that he could do, because what he's really shown everybody is that length wins. And we all thought, everybody thought, well, if you hit it farther, you've got a definite advantage. Well, what he's basically shown everybody is that, I don't even have to hit the fairway, even in the U.S. Open, because I'm going to be hitting a wedge on my next shot anyway. So I have a better chance being 50, 60 yards closer to the green, hitting a 56-degree wedge than you do back 60, 70 yards hitting a longer club in. So it doesn't even matter if he hits the fairway. It's pretty amazing. I was amazed that he went for that close to the green in a tournament where he was competitive in it on both Saturday and Sunday. It's one thing to see Friday afternoon, you might miss the cut, and hey, let's put on a show for the fans and for television. That I totally get that. He was in the lead and did it. I mean, the guy's got balls.
We got a great course coming up this week. I love TPC, that par 3, man. It's like the par 3 in Arizona, man. It's just something to be, you put a camera on it. People just sit at work and watch par 3 shots one after another. One of the greatest holes in golf. What do you got for us this week in the TPC?
It is a great hole. And the problem that I have with it, though, is the network just focuses on that one hole. There's 17 other fantastic holes in this golf course. I mean, it's an unbelievable layout from Pete Dye, and it's one of the most difficult tournaments to pick a winner in. And guys were asking me, PGF was asking me before the show started, who do you think's going to win? I was telling him, this is one of the most difficult tournaments each year to pick. And the reason being is that this golf course doesn't favor any one style of player. Any, totally different divergent styles of players have won at this golf course. And that's what makes it hard to pick. Length is less of an emphasis at TPC Sawgrass, because
is that what Harry Barry said, Harry?
Oh, yeah. Size matters, right?
Size matters, boys.
We got Crocodile Dundee and Batman on this show. What the hell's going on here?
Crocodile Dundee. That's not a knife.
Like, is it?
But length is less of an emphasis at this golf course because the dog legs, there's a lot of sand that cuts the fairways and a lot of water. There's water everywhere. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Real great iron players win here, have an advantage in my view. I'm going to go with Chris Kirk. He's a great iron player. And Chris Kirk in a top 30 at plus 275. This guy's made 8 of his last 9 cuts. He was 8th last week at the Arnold Palmer. That was his 4th top 16 in his last 5 events. So he's been in the top 16, 4 of his last 5 events. He's made 7 of his last 8 cuts at the Players, and that includes 3 top 13 finishes. So he's definitely a guy that likes this golf course. Plus 275 for a top 30 to me is easy money. I'm going to go with Keegan Bradley too for a top 30. He was 10th last week at Bay Hill. At the Players, the last 2 times out, he's had a tie for 7th in 2018, tied for 16th in 2019, which was the last time they played the tournament. He had a top 30 at plus 275. I like the way he's playing right now. He's starting to really bring back his game. The guy won a major years ago, and a lot of people forget about that. Jason Day is another guy who's playing a lot better of late, and he's won on this golf course back in 2016. He had a top 5 in 2018 and a top 8 in 2019 at the Players. He's been T7 at Pebble Beach. He was tied for 18th at the Concession a few weeks ago, which is a really difficult golf course. Plus 250 for a top 20 for Jason Day. I like those as well. We're also going to go with Webb Simpson, and I think he's your moves guy. We were going to go with for your moves pick, Webb Simpson, right, John?
Yep, we've had my moves turn. I've been snake bit, Harry. Every time I pick a guy, he finishes 3rd the week before and 3rd the week after, and he misses the cut when I pick him. So
you're the mush.
I'm telling you, I don't want to jinx Webb Simpson too, but looks like I may do it. But well, yes, that's my moves pick. If you agree with it. Okay,
well, he's won here in 2018. He won by 4 shots. He won going away on Sunday. If just a few years ago, he was tied for 16th in 2019 at this place. Strokes gained approach, strokes gained around the green, and putting. I mean, those are the 3 most important categories. Notice I didn't mention driving. He's not one of the longest hitters on tour, and that's not going to matter. I think he'd be a great pick at plus 300 for a top 10 as well, but he's your moves selection. Colin Morikawa is another guy. This guy right now, I think he's the best player over the last 6 months on tour. He was 4 under in this tournament last year. They played the first round. Remember, they came back to try to play the second round, and all of a sudden they shut everything in sports down. But right. First round, he was 4 under par. So he does have 1 round under his belt in competition at this golf course, and he did quite well. He's the hottest player right now. He's the best iron player on tour. He came with a new putting grip a few weeks ago and surprised me and a lot of other people by winning at the Concession. He brings that putting to this golf course. He can win here too, plus 225 on a top 10. And some matchups that I like. Victor Hovland, who I know is PGF's guy, minus 129 over Patrick Reed. Hovland's last 6 starts, they include a win, 2 runner-ups, and a top 5. He's unbelievable. McIlroy minus 130 over Justin Thomas. I think McIlroy was the last one that's this tournament here. The last time it was played in 2019. When he gets it going, he's arguably the best player in the sport. He's just been not very motivated, hasn't had a lot of inspiration because there haven't been any fans. There's going to be 20% capacity of fans at this event. So I'm hoping he gets some inspiration from those people and can go ahead and beat JT, who's been kind of struggling here a little bit of late. And Tommy Fleetwood, minus 120 over Adam Scott. Last 2 players tournaments, Fleetwood a top 5 and a top 7. And last week at the Arnold Palmer, he was top 10. So he comes in good form.
And is DeChambeau, what's he going to do this week as far as is DeChambeau's in the tournament, right?
Oh, yeah. He's the second favorite. He's actually Dustin Johnson's the favorite. And then DeChambeau, McIlroy, and John Rahm are all at plus 1,600.
So what's he going to try to do? Drive the par 3 with a putter?
Yeah. I mean, he probably could put it on the green with a putter.
I wouldn't doubt it at all.
He plays with a putter Harry. With 4 degrees of loft, so he could probably get it there.
That's right.
Hey Harry, let me ask you a question real quick. Yeah. At TPC Sawgrass, I've played there a couple times, and what stuck out to me was very interesting. If you look at the front 9, a lot of the drives are left to right off the tee. And if you go on the back 9, it's almost predominantly right to left on almost every hole. Mm-hmm. It's like the front 9 makes you cut it. The back 9 makes you draw it.
Yeah.
And the guy that I've watched the past 9 months that stuck out to me when he won the PGA out there in California, you see him choking down on his driver, hitting that low fade. Then he gets it back up, tees the ball high, right side, these high draws. he can do more with that golf ball with the driver than anybody I've ever seen currently right now on tour. What do you think that his chances are to win this event?
I think they're really good. I mean, as far as he's plus 2,000 right now on DraftKings to win it, and like I mentioned, he's one of my top. He's my top 10 pick at plus 225. But you're right. He's a lot of these guys can work it both ways, but he is really, really good at it with both his driver and his irons. And Pete Dye, the designer, who's no longer living, but has designed some of the best golf courses, in the world. He'll do that on the same hole where he'll have you make a draw off the tee, and then you got to hit a cut into the green. All in the same hole you got to use. So it's not even just the front nine versus the back nine. It's two different shots on the same hole.
Yeah, you don't see too many guys win this event that play one way. And what I mean by one way is like aiming at the left, hitting it left or right. The guy that sticks out to me the most that plays that way is Tony Finau. And he's a little bit more, I'm not saying he can't hit all the shots, but he's more of a one-way player. You know what I mean? When you think of guys who won this, like Sergio Garcia, great two-way player. Ricky Fowler, when he's playing great, an amazing two-way player. So that's just something that stuck out to me, and I just wanted to get your thoughts. Thanks again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Sergio, when he was playing, when he was winning, he was the best iron striker in the game. Nobody compresses the ball with irons better than Sergio when he's playing right.
I agree.
He got destroyed, Harry, with wiggle up at Bethpage Black.
29 waggles. Yeah, right.
You know why, John? Because he was thinking of Halle Berry. That's why he got destroyed with wiggles. And this is what he was doing. He was re-gripping it. He couldn't pull it back. He was re-gripping it like this. He was thinking of Halle Berry.
Where are your hands, Rooster? Get him up.
Oh, God.
I ain't no tubing.
Those New York City fans just ate Sergio. Sergio Garcia didn't recover for several years.
Oh, I know.
Fans just heckled him to death. Let's get to a little bit of the big news starting off in 2021. That is March Madness. We got a 70-1 long shot pick coming up. But first, let's go to West Virginia, and that is Mr. 8-Ball. I understand you have something for us in March Madness.
Yeah, earlier this week, I shipped out West Virginia plus 3,000. I think you can find them at 2,400, 2,200 right now. I still love it. They have a great coach in Huggins. They've played some great competition this year. Baylor, Gonzaga, they've played with them right to the end. In my opinion, they should have beaten Baylor. They have the one thing you need in this tournament, great guard play. Guys who can get a bucket when the offense stops flowing in crunch time. They have shooters, guys who can drive. And they're just a real scrappy team. So I think they're great value at plus 3,000. And I think they're able to beat any team on any given night. So definitely love them plus 2,000, 2,200. And I think they might surprise a lot of people.
Well, Rooster, I'm here in East Texas right now, home of Gonzaga. So I don't know if you follow the I just have no answer for your tweet you sent to me. That where are you?
That's still following you, isn't
it? Rooster, what do you got for us for March Madness?
Well, I got two things. Number one, I agree with him on West Virginia. I like them a lot, and the reason I'm picking this long shot to make the Final Four is actually because, in part, of their game against West Virginia. Western Kentucky took them all the way to the end of the game. And Western Kentucky also beat Alabama, and they are gelling at just the right time. I think they have an outside shot of making the Final Four at 37-1.
Wow.
Yeah, my chalk team, I like Iowa a lot now. I'm off Villanova. They disappointed me in a couple starts. They're playing too many close games. They're dependent too much on the three. They weren't doing that at the beginning of the year. They always took a lot of shots, but just recently, they are just live and die by the three, and that scares me in a one-loss tournament like this. So I like Iowa. I like them both to make the Final Four at 3-1, and I'm taking a shot on them at 16-1 to win it all.
Excellent. And Matt, I understand we've already gone over this before, but I like talking about them because they're from the state of Texas. So you got a little update on what you've done with the Texas Longhorns in the tournament?
God bless Texas, right, John?
God bless Texas. That's right. Yes. That's right about all you Philadelphians.
The Ranger, the Texas, they've played a lot of teams tough. You look at Kansas, they went to OT, they beat them. West Virginia, I think, was a 2-point game. And West Virginia has been awesome, like 8-Ball said. They played Gonzaga tough, Baylor tough, and Texas played Baylor tough. The only problem was they missed all their free throws. But this team's starting to grow up. They've won, I think, 4 of their last 5. Like I said, they beat Kansas, very talented team, always talented. And they're starting to grow up. And if this team's talented, I think they're going to come in the tournament, and they're going to make a statement, and they're going to make some noise.
Philly Godfather, make some noise. I understand you got a 70-1 long shot, future, whatever you want to call it. It's a bucket of money if you hit it. What do you got for us?
Yeah, you can find them anywhere from 55-1 to 70-1. Now, this isn't as strong as the Texas future we gave out at the beginning of the year at 25-1. They're down to 15-1. Illinois was 25-1. We gave them out. They're down to 8-1. They're coming off victories off of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio State. So they're looking real strong, Illinois. But this is another team from Chicago. It's the Ramblers. Anytime you're looking to bet on the dark horse, you're looking at some good coaching here. And, Porter Moser was under Rick Majerus for a few years, I think from 2007 to 2011. So he's a real solid coach. The guy can flat out coach. And the next thing that's real appealing about this team is you got 6 different guys who average between 7 and 8 points a game. So you can't really just take one guy out of the game. Everyone can score on this Ramblers team. They got a great center in Krutwig. He's a great passing big man. He puts up right around 15 points per game. And this team is solid from the foul line. They shoot right around 74% this year. They can also shoot lights out from the three-point line. They're right around 36%. But I like their point distribution because they're only 28% of their points this year comes from beyond the arc. So they can beat you in different ways. They're one of the best defensive teams in college basketball. I think they're number 1 this year in opponent points per game. They play in a smaller conference, but when they stepped up and they played Wisconsin, that game was close. And the only reason why Wisconsin won that game is they shot 56% from the three-point line against Loyola Chicago. Or else that would have been a much closer game. Chicago actually out-rebounded them, and they're a much smaller team. Now, they suffer a little bit in the effective height ratio. They're a little small, but this is a team that can go deep in March Madness, and at 70-1, you really got to take a nibble, especially in the COVID era. Anything can happen with some of these teams. They miss a player or two. Next thing you know, a team like this from a small market, from a smaller school, they can really make some noise. Great defensive team, shoot lights out, guard very well coached, and this team's going to be dangerous. They're going to win a couple games in the tournament, and to me, I think they get to the elite, maybe Sweet 16, possibly the Elite 8. But remember, we're not betting this team to win it all. We're betting this team to hedge some money late in the tournament and make some free money. And this team can definitely go deep in March Madness.
Brewster, how much wine do you go through on a college basketball day?
Actually, I go through the most on Thursday of next week because that is a marathon. It's the best. The 2 best gambling days of the year for me are next Thursday and Friday, because every time you turn around, there's a halftime, there's another game starting. They're all great games. There's usually 3 or 4 exciting ones. Next Thursday, don't look for me next month, the following Monday. I will not be available for at least 2
I'm not going to say what his 3rd favorite day of the year bet was, because I don't want to bring that up again.
Harry, are you with us on the biggest bet day of the year coming up next Thursday? Is that a big day for you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's one of the most fun times in the sports calendar each and every year. I wanted to ask the guys if what they saw from Gonzaga the other night in their conference championship, where they had, they won the game, they didn't cover the number against BYU, gave them any pause for Gonzaga going forward in the tournament, because they are the odds-on favorite to win it all.
I mean, it doesn't scare me at all. They were 17-point favorites. I mean, BYU was definitely the right side in that game. They steamed it down to 14, but they still won by 10 points. And this is a game where they have, they're getting ready for the tournament. So they got no incentive to really blow these teams out. If you look at this team spread throughout the year, some of the highest spreads I've seen in college basketball history, you've seen spreads of 30, 28, 27. So the odds makers knew how good this team was. They overinflated their lines. And for anyone to be worried about a Gonzaga team that just beat BYU by 10 points and think, obviously the game was close, but there was no incentive there. I mean, they're getting ready for March Madness. I'm not. I think they're the best team in college.
The dark horse, of course, being Abilene Christian in the March Madness tournament. Hey, we made the tournament last year. It's the first time ever. Coach ripped his pants before the tournament. Not last year. It got called off last year. Year before, Coach ripped his pants, and you had one of the coaches try to step up and give him a pair of breeches, and he said, "No, these are good luck."
Well, I know who the greatest football player to come from that college was. I think the second best was Wilbert Montgomery. Was that who it was?
That's right.
We know who number one was.
That's right.
Number 31.
1976. I went and watched homecoming. Watched Will Montgomery break. I think it was Gail Sayers' record, collegiate rushing record. Been a fan of Will Montgomery ever since. Had a tremendous career.
You remember that 46-yard run he had against the Cowboys in the playoffs, don't you?
I do, and I was heartbroken because that was my guy against my team. So I had to say, like, "Oh my God, it's Wilbur! Oh my God, no, don't give it to Wilbur! Don't."
That was the Eagles' Super Bowl that year, unfortunately. Yeah.
That's right. Well, there you have it, guys. There's follow the action. Went through golf, most famous par 3 in the world, UFC, and your March Madness specials, along with an update on Dak Prescott and his prognosis for playing next year and what that does for Dallas Cowboys. For Matt of the College Kids, the 8-Ball, Mr. Harry Mays of Swinging and Ding It, Batman and Halle Berry, Philly Rooster and his wine, and the Philly Godfather, I'm John Layfield. Thanks for joining us.